Today we'll be talking about graphing absolute value functions. So I do have my TI-84 calculator here to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the absolute value function. You go to math, number, absolute value of x. What you're going to do next is you're going to go to your table by pressing second graph. And I like sometimes to start at -3. Or let's say -2. It doesn't matter where you want to start. So when x is -2, the absolute value of -2 is 2. When x is -1, the absolute value is 1. 0, the absolute value is 0. 1, 1. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to graph. So we have -2, 2, -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, and then you can continue graphing this absolute value. The domain is a listing of all the possible x values. In this case, it goes from -infinity to +infinity. Remember, we're talking about the x values. So if I highlight what are the possible values that I'm looking for is the x values, and it's going to be all these. So it's going to be, the domain's going to be all the real numbers. The range, on the other hand, you notice that the graph, its lowest point is 0, y equals 0. So the range is actually going to be y is greater than 0. Okay, so the domain is a green, which is from -infinity to +infinity, and the range is going to be anything that's above 0. Y is greater than or equal to 0. So that's what you're doing on today's assignment. So now we're graphing f of x equals the absolute value of x, and I'm going to go ahead and use black. So I'm going to go to the y equals sign, y equals, and I'm going to go ahead and type this into the calculator. So it's math, number, absolute value of x plus 2. So now you're going to look at the table. And like I said, we'll start with -2. So we have -2. When x is -2, the y value is 4. When x is -1, the y value is 3. When x is 0, the y value is 2. When x is 1, the y value is 3. So what are the order pairs that we have? -2, 4. -1, 3, 0, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, and then you notice the pattern, and you notice the pattern here, and this is called an absolute value graph. And that's all you're doing on today's assignment. You got to graph the ordered pairs. So the domain, once again, are our listing of all the possible x values. So in this case, it's going to be all these values here. Now, this is the domain. So I'm going to write domain. The domain is going to be all real numbers. Now, the range is different. The range is all the possible y values. So in this case, the y value, the lowest is 2. And it goes towards infinity. So this is positive infinity, This is negative infinity. This is positive infinity. So our range is going to be anything that is greater than 2. So we say y is greater than or equal to 2. There is no x-intercept because it doesn't cross the x-axis. The y-intercept is 0, 2. So we're going to go back to our graphing calculator, and we're going to graph the parent function, which is the absolute value of x. And so I'm going to use those ordered pairs that are there. I'll start with negative 3, 3. Negative 2, 2. Negative 1, 1, 0, 0, and then so on. So please go ahead and do that. Now you notice that at x equals 0, and I'm going to draw that vertical line. This is the vertical line. It kind of splits this graph in half into 2 equal parts. This is x equals 0. This is called the line of symmetry, or the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to write axis of symmetry. Okay. The vertex is 0, 0, and the axis of symmetry is a vertical line through the vertex. This right here is the vertex. 0, 0. Vertex. The graph is symmetric about the x-axis, about the axis of symmetry, which is the y-axis, or x equals 0. So what you have to do in this problem, you have to graph the parent function. This line that kind of basically cuts the graph in half, this is called the axis of symmetry, which is x equals 0. So for the next problem, that's what you're trying to find, okay? So we're trying to find the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to go to the table again, the graph. So I have y equals, we have the absolute value of x plus 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is look at the table. And they start at negative 7, so we'll start at negative 7. We have negative 7, 3. Negative 7, 3. Negative 5, 1. Negative 4, 0. Negative 5, 1 is over here. Negative 4, 0. Negative 3, 1. Negative 1, 3. And if I continue going further down on my graph, I have 0, 4. 1, 5. And there is my graph. There's my graph. So if we're looking for the line of symmetry, we need to know where does it break this in half into 2 different equal pieces. So here is our line of symmetry, which goes right through the vertex. The vertex is negative 4, 0. It's also the x-intercept. The y-intercept is 0, 4. And negative 4, 0, 0, 4. And this is x equals negative 4. This is the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry. So for this assignment, we have to graph each absolute value, write the domain and range, identify the intercepts, identify the axis of symmetry. So what you do need is a calculator. So go to y equals, and then you have x plus 2 minus 3. Let's go to a table. Most students ask me, where do you start? Basically, you start where you're able to graph. So in this case, we have negative 5, 0. I'll make a table. I have negative 5, 0. I have negative 4, negative 1. I have negative 3, negative 2, negative 4, negative 1, negative 3, negative 2, negative 3, negative 2, negative 3. So I have negative 3, negative 2, negative 2, negative 3. And then I have negative 1, which is negative 2. 0, in this case it's negative 1. 1, 0, it's negative 1. 1 is 0. I'm going to go ahead and connect the points. I'm going to connect the points. Okay. So I'm going to draw my axis of symmetry. It goes right through the vertex. So this is my axis of symmetry. I'll just put here x equals negative 2. That's my axis of symmetry. This right here is my x-intercept, which is, and this is also my x-intercept, and this is my y-intercept. So you're going to write x-intercept is 1, 0, and negative 5, 0. And then my y-intercept is 0, negative 1. Domain, all reals. The range, y is greater than or equal, and then you got to tell me what is the lowest y value. In this case it's negative 3. So y is greater than or equal to negative 3. Number 3, I'm going to go ahead and use the graphing calculator. Y equals, I'll clear this, and we have negative, then math, absolute value, and we have x minus 2 plus 4. Let's look at the graph so we can just kind of see where it's at. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom standard. Zoom standard lets you see it just within that screen right there. Okay, so I'm going to make my table here. And it appears we can start at 0, so I'll start at negative 1. Or negative 3. So when x equals negative 3, y is negative 1. When x is negative 2, it's 0. When x is negative 1, it's 1. When it's 0, when x is 0, it's 2. So we have negative 3, negative 1, negative 2, 0, negative 1, 1, 0, 2. Go down. 1, 3, 5, no, 3, it's 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4, so it's 0, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, and then what you start noticing is it starts going down. 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 2. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that. Once again, we have our x-intercept and we have our y-intercept. Probably want to go And I notice that the x-intercept is 6, 0. Okay. It's kind of off the picture, 5, 6. So the x-intercept is -2, 0, 6, 0, and then the y-intercept is 0, 2. Domain, remember when we talk about domain, we're talking about all the possible x values. In this case, for an absolute value, it's negative infinity to positive infinity. It's going to be all reals. Now, the range is different. The range, the highest point is 4, and then it starts going down. So the range is going to be y less than or equal to